Here to help us make sense of this moment is Hoover Institution Senior Fellow Victor Davis Hanson. Victor, it's great to see you. It's been far too long. Let's start, if we might, with the Vice President and move then to the Secretary of State. The Vice President looks back on history. He looks to the Industrial Revolution as a moment of chaos that led to not only the rise of socialism, but the rise of fascism. Do you see us at a similar moment now in history?
I do, but I think there's a big difference. This is primarily a top-down. We're not seeing people that are very poor. When you see stores broken into or swarming, it's high-end, you know, sneakers, jewelry stores, bread and rice and beans. And we're not seeing people who were the victims of globalization in Middle America, Red State America. You know, they went into the Tea Party, which was peaceful, or the Trump MAGA movement. They didn't get violent. This is a top-down. It's a lot of affluent urban people who feel that their college education should have allowed them an income that was comparable with very wealthy people. And they feel let down. They have student loans, but they're not abject poor. And then we have a lot of recent immigrants, first and second generation, that are socialists. Not that they're all violent, but they feel that they came to the United States and they were not assimilated to culture. There was no effort, so they can sort of romanticize their former country or demand changes in this new country, and the hosts never ask anything of them, no civic education, etc. But it's very different. And then it's very insidious, Will, because the left keeps saying it's right wing. Janet Napolitano, when she was Homeland Security, she said the biggest threat is returning veterans. It wasn't. And Mark Milley got before Congress and said, we're worried about white supremacists in the Pentagon. They did an exhaustive study. They found nothing. And so every time, and Joe Biden said the greatest threat was white supremacists. It wasn't. But it's very insidious because Antifa and BLM and the communists and all of these people have this utopian vision. We just want equality. We just want fairness. And so the Antifa, they get a pass from people, and they're now adjacent to the socialist wing of the Democratic Party, which explains why none of the people on the left or the Democratic Party are speaking out against them.
Victor, that takes us then to Marco Rubio and to an extent Stephen Miller and what they had to say today. You make an interesting and accurate distinction between what happened in the early 19th century and today. This is not a revolt of the working class. This is a revolt of the college educated, but driven by, in the diagnosis of Secretary of State, resentment. I thought he put it really well when he said it's a violence perpetrated by those who can't against those who can. And that psychological assessment, I do think, is really there at the end of all of not just this violence, but this rise of leftism.
It is. It's confined so far largely to urban areas and largely by people with some education. And they feel that their political science degree or their dash studies degree or sociology or psychology, and they're glib and they're well-spoken, and they think, well, I have a job as an editor at a prestigious book, or I'm working for an NGO, or I work for Greenpeace, and yet I don't get paid what a corporate lawyer or a tech CEO is. And I'm just as smart as they are. I can't buy a house. I have a prolonged adolescence because I can't marry and have children. It's the system that did this to me. And so it's kind of, they live in la-la land, but that doesn't mean they're not dangerous. And that doesn't mean they've infiltrated into the major political party, which they have, and the Democratic Socialists, which is, it's kind of the front for Antifa, BLM. It's the proper label or the acceptable face of a very violent movement. And I don't think we should underestimate what some of the people in the Democratic Socialists are saying. If you go to their website, I mean, it's full of Marx this and Cuba that.
No, I think we've seen, as you point out, not just their taking center stage when it comes to political parties, but the violence, as pointed out by everyone here today across the globe, and here at home we can point easily to a great emblem of that is the celebration of Luigi Mangione. Victor Davis Hanson, it's great to have you here on the show. Thank you so much, Victor.
Thank you for having me, Will.
All right, Fox Weather Alert now.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.